What do you think happens with 13?
I think that Caleb Williams will stay. I think that he's, you hear rumors all over the place, but you think about it. Now you've named your guy. Obviously, for Caleb, it really is dependent on who they bring in as the offensive coordinator. But, he's only had 1 year with Lincoln. It's not like he's been in a system forever and I don't want to have to deal with, getting into a new deal. I think whoever they bring in will be up to par of what Caleb Williams wants. And now that, Spencer's out, Caleb is the guy at the University of Oklahoma, Why run away from that, in my opinion?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah,
I mean, I get it.
Right.
You bounce back and forth, but a lot of that was due to Lincoln.
Right.
Lincoln's gone. If Lincoln is your guy, maybe we see you go. But he just, is about to sign, the number one quarterback in Malachi coming up.
Right.
Dude, you are the guy at the University of Oklahoma. You can be the guy to take Brent Venables in year one to Big 12 title potentially, and maybe SEC, depending on what happens this offseason, whatever it looks like. I think he stays. I think he plays the bowl game. If not, we're going to suit somebody up that nobody's ever heard of.
What would be really interesting? Being that we're both in Dallas right now, pretty highly touted recruit that came out of Southlake just last year, Quinn Ewers, has come out and said that it's, I think, Texas Tech and Texas. It would be very interesting if Caleb Williams does not suit up to play this game and says, hey, I'm going somewhere else. There is nobody on campus leading what is a very talented OU team with a new coach. Quinn Ewers. Man, I think how do you not look at Norman?
I think if you're Quinn Ewers, you look at Norman. If I'm Norman, I'm not looking at Quinn Ewers.
Why?
I don't know. I like to believe in kids, and I don't know him, so this isn't even fair to me to say. Like, this comes off like I'm just bashing this kid. I just have never been drawn to his demeanor.
Yeah,
I haven't been drawn to the way that he's handled his entire recruit. I don't know. This is not fair for me to say, but I've just
we're in the media, so you can.
I'm not a big fan of the kid.
Yeah.
I watched him play with no other. I didn't really care at all. My wife went to Southlake Carroll, so we went and watched what they call the Dodge Bowl. It was Riley Dodge, the head coach of Southlake Carroll, versus Todd Dodge, his father, who's now coaching Austin Westlake. They've got Cade Klubnik, who's going to Clemson to play quarterback. And I watched these two guys go head-to-head, and I would take the Klubnik kid that's going to Clemson 10 times out of 10 over Ewers. And I get it. He's a great player. He was the highest recruited player ever, so he's obviously got talent. I don't know. I just had this feeling in my gut, I guess, where I just wasn't a huge fan. But it's a great point to get back on track, Bryce. I think it's a great point. If Caleb Williams decides that he's going to depart from Norman, which I don't anticipate, that would be obviously a great opportunity to step in if you're any transferring quarterback to have an opportunity to compete for a job.
I think it'd be interesting, man, because again, going and not to just beat a dead horse here, but if the case happens where Caleb Williams says I'm following Lincoln, to your point, there is a man walking around that campus, crazy enough, as talented as that team is, as historic as it is, as good as it's been the last 6, 7, 8 years, this last decade, that you would be leading that team out with somebody that no one knows.
It's very eerily similar to the 2015 Texas A&M Aggies, and the only reason I know that is because I was the guy that took advantage of the situation. But you had Kyle Allen, who isn't a starter right now, but has started multiple games in the NFL for the Washington football team and the Panthers, and the other guy they had was the starting quarterback for the Arizona Cardinals, Kyler Murray. Mm-hmm. You had two five-star guys on campus. And right before the bowl game, right now, same situation, both decide they're leaving, opens the door, Jake Hubenak to come in, who transferred in from Belen Junior College and gets a start against Lamar Jackson in the bowl game, and the Aggies lose. But that allowed me to step in and have an opportunity to compete for a job and take over down there.
So do you think that they'll hit the transfer portal, though?
I think they hit whoever the best guy is. I think because of that reason, Spencer already decided he's leaving. Okay, so it's not happening all at the same time, kind of like Kyler and Kyle. I think if I was Caleb Williams, I'm staying right where I'm at.
Yeah, I hear you.
Unless whoever they hire to run the offense comes in, he's like, hey, this just doesn't fit me. I think he needs to at least wait until that happens.
Hey, if Coach Levy comes in, his butt better stay, because he's going to put up points and he's going to be dynamic.
No doubt.
I think he'd be.
And he's
I
so
think
talented,
it'd be really
man.
good. So for our listeners too, and I'd actually love to hear this process. So what is the transfer portal like when you enter the transfer portal and you go to, is that a dark room? Is it a
I didn't
super
have a
bright
transfer
room?
portal.
Like a cafeteria where they all just kind of walk around you? And
I have no idea. When I transferred, it was not a transfer portal.
It wasn't?
What I had to do was go and do my own homework. I put together a list of like 15 schools that I'd even be interested in, whether it was, quarterback coach.
Who were your top three?
My top three ended up being A&M, Auburn, and LSU.
So you're going SEC all day.
I wanted to get out of the Big 12.
Yeah, that was for NFL, or you just wanted to get out of.
I wanted to play at a school. I was hoping. I didn't know when I put my letter out there, and I'll get to that. I'll get back to that in a second. I didn't know if it was going to be like Tulsa, North Texas, somebody like that, or if it was going to be, a big time school. I was hoping.
What does that mean when you put that out? You didn't know.
I didn't know who would respond. So here's how it worked.
Okay.
So I made a list of the schools where desirable for me based off of situation, like they had a quarterback graduating or leaving, geographic location. I'd love to be close to home, right? Fifth year, be close to mom and dad, have them come watch me. And then also the coach and the scheme, right? And so I put that list together. I went to our compliance department, and they drafted a letter and sent it to the compliance department of those 15 schools, which then relayed it to the coaching staff that I was eligible for transfer. I was seeking transfer. And then the communication rules were still all there. So they'd have like a GA follow me on Twitter and like toss me a message or something. And then I would call up there. Yeah. And then I would call up there. And so it all happened pretty quick. And then once that happened, I started getting calls from people that weren't really on that list. But I mean, it wasn't like this long drawn out process. It was like Gus Malzahn called me. He got me on the phone with Cam Newton. Cam Newton was a transfer to Auburn. So Cam was like, which was kind of cool. Cam was like, hey man, you can go there and be successful as a transfer. Boom, this is cool. So I talked to Rhett Lashley, who's now the head coach at SMU. He was the QB coach there at the time.
Yeah.
I talked to Rhett, and I talked to Gus Malzahn 15 times in that week. Les Miles called him. He was at LSU. Hey, we think you got a shot here. You can walk in and compete for the job right away. We think you have a good chance to win that job if you come in and play well.
And who was there in 2015?
It was like Jeremy Johnson and Sean something.
Okay.
So good opportunity to come in and compete, right? And at Auburn, that was Auburn. At it wasn't Danny Lanning yet. I forget who it was, but either way, at both schools, it was kind of the in between, right? It wasn't Jarrett Stidham yet. It wasn't Joe Burrow yet. It was an opportunity to come and compete. And then I called A&M because that's the only SEC school in Texas close to home from San Antonio. And at the time, Kyler and Kyle were still there, and Kevin Sumlin said, no, we're good. I appreciate the call, but, we'd love to have your leadership, blah, 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 blah. But we've got these two guys. We believe in them. Well, that week, they both depart, so my phone rings, conversation changes. So it came down to those three, and, ended up, making the decision to go to A&M and, went through spring ball, battled it out, and got named the starter the Monday after spring ball, and the rest is history. That's the reason that I left. But, I didn't have the transfer portal,
Gotcha.
and so I honestly don't know what that looks like. Nowadays with social media and everything else, I don't know how the communication, even works. But it is interesting. It creates another level of communication for all these coaches.